Today, Rachel and I are gonna teach you how to fix your bench press lockout. All right, so I'm here with my beautiful bride, Rachel. For most people, when they bench press, if you lower the bar correctly, you'll actually feel like a spring compressing, and you'll be able to throw just about any amount of weight off of your chest. And then you'll come to a point that we call no man's land, which is where all tightness is lost, and that last 4 to 6 inches of range of motion becomes very, very difficult. So we're gonna give you some pro tips today on how to fix that lockout to be able to lock out any amount of weight on the bench press. So the first exercise we love to do, because it really would be available to anybody without any extra special pieces of equipment, is a pin bench press or a bench press lockout. And this is a lift that I'd learned originally from the Westside Barbell Lifters in the late 90s. It very simply is where you set the catch pins in the rack to where you just perform a 4 to 6 inch range of motion just on the bench press lockout. So you're gonna set the pins where you'll touch the pins and the bar is gonna hover 2, 3, 4 inches above your chest just to work that lockout range of motion. All right, so the key to this motion is to lower the bar slow till it lightly touches the pins, but all the weight of the bar stays in your hands. You don't wanna let the pins actually accept the weight of the bar. So you're just using the pins as a guide for where to stop. You're gonna pause for 1 second and then you're gonna fire back. So stay tight down on the pins. All right, so another exercise we love to use is a board press. And that's because most of our clients have what's called a tubo, a terribly useful block of wood that we use in squats to make sure that our knees don't go forward, but we can also use it for bench press lockout help. Once she's set up and hits her arch, I'm gonna set the board on her chest. I'm gonna hold the board at the same angle as her chest cavity would be, as her ribs. Take a deep breath in, lock it out. Same thing, lower smooth to the bar and pause and throw back. Again, touch a little lower, throw back a little higher. Good, one more. Touch a little lower, throw back a little higher. One of the disadvantages to a board press is that it really often requires 3 people, a lifter, a lift-off person or a spotter, and someone to hold the board. This piece, and there are several pieces like this is a bench pad from Elite FTS, allows you to remove the board holder so that we can connect this directly to the bar, and then I can come back here and be a spotter for Rachel. So Rachel will lay down. And it's very similar to a board press. Hold it at lockout, lower slowly, touch low, pause for just an extra second. Throw. Good leg drive here. Lower it down, leg drive, and rack it. All right, I'm not sure if you can see this because it's camouflaged. And basically,
there it is.
You found it?
I did.
Okay, so this is called a Sling Shot. It's made by Mark Bell. And we like the Sling Shot. It's just basically a giant piece of elastic that you put on your chest, and it helps to take the bulk of the load as you get down close to the chest, and then it deloads. It doesn't stretch as much as we get to the top. And so really for all these lockout movements, you should be able to handle more weight because of the reduced range of motion on these lifts than you would on a normal bench press. So Rachel's gonna take her fist, 1, 2, 3, push, just like that. We're gonna put it right up around the elbow. Same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3, push, just like that.
I almost punched you in the face.
You did almost punch me in the face, in fact. All right, now, bend your elbows. I wanna make sure her elbows are just below the seam here, but aren't necessarily coming out the bottom of the slingshot. Same thing on this side, that's pretty good. And you can see where it loads all of the pressure on her chest there. Now the key on a slingshot is that you have to have a spotter. And part of this is because of this extra tension of the slingshot across the chest. You really don't want to try to lift this out on your own. And there is the tendency occasionally with a really heavy weight and lots of tension on the slingshot to throw the bar back over your face and potentially land. So you always, if you do this on your own, which you shouldn't do with a slingshot, you want to make sure you have the safety catch pins in. I'm going to be here to spot Rachel. She'll be fine. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Hold it at lockout. Lower it just like you would a normal bench press, the bottom of your chest. Pause and throw. Good. Give me 2 more. Pause it. 1 more. Pause it. Remember, this time actually pause it. Good. Now we've already done 2 supplemental bench press videos that will help with the lockout, so we're not going to show those today. And that's the floor press, which we showed you with Will, and then Cooper from Garage Gym Reviews showed you what a chain bench press would look like. This is similar to a chain bench press. It's a banded bench press. It's what uses accommodating resistance. So if you think about it, I can bench press more weight if I just bench pressed a couple inches than if I did a full range of motion. So I'm stronger up here because my leverage is better than I am down here. At the top of the lift, they're gonna be the most stretched. Therefore, they're gonna be pulling down on the bar, producing the most amount of force on the bar. As Rachel lowers the bar, the bands will stretch less and less, and they'll become almost loose at the bottom. Not truly loose, but much less force. So that even though I have 95 pounds of weight on the bar, at the bottom, Rachel's probably gonna have 105, 110 with the weight plus the band, and at the top, it's gonna be closer to 150 or 160. So it's gonna work that entire strength curve, and it's gonna force her to work harder for the lockout. By the way, Rachel hasn't done these in a couple years, and so the first time you'll do this, you'll notice she may shake pretty bad. So we're gonna see how she does. First, you're gonna squeeze the bar really hard. You're gonna do 2 reps, you're gonna lower slow and then fire up and just try to keep from shaking. 1, 2, 3, up, okay. Lower slow, fire back. Perfect, great, do a couple more. Good, tuck your elbows a little bit more on the way down and then fire back towards me. Good. So we've given you 5 or 6 examples for how to improve your bench press lockout. Now the question is, where do I put that in the actual program? Well, certainly, like many of our other supplemental lifts, you could put it in as the second movement on a 4-day split, but in reality, a lot of times, I'll do this at the end of my actual bench press reps. So for somebody like you, who might bench press like 155 for sets across on a normal bench press, you could then at the end of that normal bench press, put your Slingshot on, start at 155 and keep working up in weight, 165, 175, 185. You might top out at like a 205 bench press for a set of 3, where in a Slingshot or in a board press or the bench pad or something like that, those would be a good way to do that. For the banded bench presses or the chain bench presses, where the weight on the bar is actually less, I would always do those as a second movement, or maybe even the first movement on a 4-day split. I wouldn't do those after a normal bench press. It's actually really weird to do a normal bench press and then try to bench press with bands, or even worse, try to bench press with bands and then bench press afterwards. So if the weight's gonna be higher, like with a Slingshot, you can do that at the end of the bench press. But if it's gonna be lower, like with accommodating resistance, you would wanna do that movement by itself in a 4-day split. For more great supplemental videos, probably with not as attractive of a model, click the playlist right up there.
That's beautiful.